Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel and thanks for logging on. If you enjoy these videos, do me a favor and subscribe to our YouTube channel right here at Watchbox Reviews. I would really appreciate it, and I promise to update daily. If you love this watch, you could see it and you can purchase it on our website, thewatchbox.com. This is a lovely update on a modern classic. Panerai launched its PAM01389 Amagnetic back in 2013 and it was a success, but it was updated in 2017 to become the PAM01389 with a few choice refinements inside and out, but the basic form and look of the watch unchanged. All of the original details are still present and correct. 47mm Luminor 1950 case. It is a big watch. On my 16cm circumference wrist, probably too big. I recommend a 17cm circumference wrist or larger to get the most of this watch aesthetically. Though it will sit secure on a wrist of my size, it looks a bit goony. Now in terms of the span across the wrist, big. 56.2 millimeters. The watch is 16 millimeters thick, and between the lugs, a broad 26 millimeters. This watch has the stance to match its size. It does appear proportional at the lugs. The watch is light. In titanium, it doesn't have a whole lot of heft to it. So again, if you have that small wrist and you just have to own and wear this watch, you're not going to find it to be an encumbrance. It's going to look big, but it's going to wear relatively small. The lugs are minimal, and as you can see, they're basically just there to sling the strap over your wrist, and the strap has no constraint in its movement, so if you do have that smaller wrist, it can pull straight down and around. The other feature that I find to be particularly small wrist friendly is the Bellows style strap, which is natural vulcanized rubber. As you can see, at least the straps of Panerai watches are still made in Italy. There are Bellows style accordion folds that make it more flexible, but also help to channel a little bit of heat and sweat from the wrist. You can see that there are also hollows molded into the underside of the strap to channel the heat towards those bellows so you can evacuate moisture, heat, sweat, and grit. Simple Panerai trapezoidal titanium satin finished pin buckle, a lovely Officine Panerai 1970 style OP logo molded into the strap on both sides, and the case band is all of satin finish. Now the Luminor 1950 case was born back with the PAM01389 back in the early 2000s, but fundamentally it has less to do with the size of the case, which originally was 47 and here is a 47, less to do with the size than the shape. This is a little bit truer to the Panerai 6152 of the 1950s that directly inspires this model. A bit more complexity and curvature to it than a standard Tunican Betterini case. You still have that device protecting the crown, a crescent style guard that is a design icon of Panerai. You know across the room this is a Panerai Luminor. Even as a sub, it has that distinctive profile of case and bezel and guard. More protection than a simple shouldered crown guard, because if it's hit straight on, you still have protection. You'll also note that there is a little cam with a bearing built in. The bearing's known as the runner, that allows you to unlock the crown. Now I can wind the watch, I can set the watch, I can use the time zone function to jump the hour, I can stop the seconds, I can set everything in sync, and then I can just push it right back in and lock it and achieve 300-meter water resistance. This makes it easier to use the crown when your hands are wet, sweaty, or gloved, those times when it can be difficult to grip a screw-down crown. Now talking about external changes, the most pronounced, in my opinion, is the arrival of the image of the SLC, the Soloro Alanta Corsa on the back, basically a manned torpedo. This was used by the 10th Flotilla Italian Navy amphibious commandos against the British fleet, most notably during World War II. Essentially a self-propelled bomb. Frogmen with breather apparatus would sail into a harbor, cut the anti-torpedo netting, plant it on the bottom of, for example, a Queen Elizabeth class battleship, and then hopefully retreat to a waiting submarine and evacuate. And of course all those men wore Panerai equipment, not just the watches, also the depth meters and the compasses. So you have that imagery on the case back that is not present on the PAM01389. You'll also note that on the dial side, everything you'd expect on the Luminor, but this is an applique dial rather than a sandwich style. Let's talk about the bezel first. This was the first ceramic capped metal bezel on a Panerai watch when it debuted as the PAM01389 in 2013. The ceramic helps to shield the titanium from scratches, and you can see the very small amount of high polish used on this watch is entirely around the rim of the bezel. Handsome detailing. Now you align the bezel, listen to the detent. That detent is the best in the business. Dox is up there. Panerai is in contention. It's one of the two. I'm giving it to one of them. But if you want exemplary, best in the business, dive bezel sound and feel, look no further. Line up that giant loomed pearl. Now you have an impromptu 0 to 60 minute timer, which I find is both easier to read and more intuitive than a chronograph. Plus, most chronograph registers only go up to 30 minutes anyway, and you won't have the downstream maintenance costs of a chronograph movement. You will also enjoy the fact that there's a lovely contrasting sort of cyan blue small seconds hand that is set in a slightly recessed register, and though you can't see it at the moment, there is a date window with a monotone black date disc. All of the indices are metal and applied. There is plenty of loom. Don't worry about that. Nice feature about the time zone functionality is you can actually set things without stopping the seconds or the minutes, and if you do jump the international date line east or west while traveling, it will drive the date in either direction without hazard. Underneath the caseback, the second generation Panerai 9000 series 3-day automatic movement. This caliber 9010, 31 joules automatic winding, twin mainspring barrels, 72-hour power reserve, 28,800 vibration per hour beat rate, stop seconds, the time zone function. And the change is a little bit thinner than the old caliber 9000s, and also with a full balance bridge rather than a half bridge, so it's even more shock resistant. You now have a Rolex style free sprung balance with a full balance bridge, so it's a thinner and tougher version of the old caliber 9000s. You can see the watch is handsome, the watch is big, the watch is bold but not cartoonishly. Bold here isn't used as a euphemism for poor design or tasteless style. Here it truly is a faithful reference to the combat era of Panerai watches. If anything, it's derived most directly from the watches built for the Egyptian Navy during the late 1950s with their rotating bezels. This is one for the Paneristi and one of the most unique looking Panerai watches of the modern era. Big, yes, but if bigger is better, this is pretty close to as good as it gets. See and make the PAM01389 yours on the watch box. PAM01389, fully loomed. Note the fully loomed crosshair style small second subdial and the fact that the minute hand and the loomed pearl are a differential cyan blue superluminova, so you can line them up easy for diving. Amagnetic? Well, not quite, but 40,000 ampere per meter, roughly 1/2 of a Rolex Milgauss, thanks to soft iron inner components that channel magnetic field lines around the caliber 9010 movement. See it on the watch box.